Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night, good whatever you're listening to us in. Welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. And yeah, it's a bit weird. We're recording this during the daytime, actually, so it's not actually after dark. Wouldn't you say that? And I am your host once again, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo, coming to you from Shabby Road Studios, home of the most vacant, unoccupied office space in the country. Another fun fact.
It's kind of like the weekend edition of After Dark, but yeah.
Yeah.
Since we're a few days late.
Yeah, we're a few days late, but we got some good stuff for you. And I am joined once again by Mr. Tom Connors.
How are we doing today?
Oh, fantastic. So let's jump right in. Let's, actually, we got some Sony news. We got Sony news out the wazoo today, actually.
Yeah.
For some
two Sony stories off the bat.
Yeah. What's our first Sony story? The Sony company is actually interested in making an acquisition.
Well, we had talked last week about Disney looking at acquiring 20th Century Fox, or 21st Century Fox as they're actually called, which would include up to the network, a few of the cable stations, and Fox News, and their sports channels, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, they're looking to unload everything else. And things kind of didn't work out between Disney and them. Talks stalled. Now it appears that Sony is in the running along with Comcast, Verizon, as they are looking at acquiring 21st Century Fox. A little interesting news there. I could see Verizon and Comcast really trying to pull together to try and compete with AT&T. Sony, on the other hand, there's a lot riding on this that could be good for them. Fox is a winning studio compared to what Sony's been able to do lately. There's more Marvel properties over at Fox that Sony could acquire. And there's a few more things we're going to talk about this when it comes to Disney. But first I want to get a little bit more into how Rob kind of feels about it too and stuff like that. But what do you think, Rob, here? Is this a big move for Verizon and Comcast and Sony to try and come in and take this? And I wanted to get your take on it because this would actually have some impact on the 007 situation as well, would it not? Possibly.
Yeah, it probably would. Well, it would. One thing it would do, it would having Sony and Fox. It would unify some of the distribution rights for the home video releases, because like I keep pointing out, if you turn over the back of your Bond collection DVDs, it'll say distributed by 20th Century Fox Home Video.
I think what this would do is, and I think the key to this is something you brought up, is a lot of the distribution rights then, if Sony were to acquire Fox, a lot of those rights would be under the same house then, giving Sony a little bit more leverage when it comes to the franchise, basically.
Yeah, what this could do is actually it could give them a leg up in the negotiating when it comes to the larger Bond distribution rights as a whole. Because right now, those rights are up in the air. A lot of people have reported Annapurna has been in the lead, but actually that was reported on Deadline as being nothing has been confirmed yet. So as far as those distribution rights, we do not know. But like I said, consolidating Fox's operations with Sony, that would probably give them a more attractive piece to bring to the negotiating table when they sit down with Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson. If Comcast is involved in anything, I do not like it. I'm sorry. Comcast is the Leviathan of the cable industry, and I don't get to use the word Leviathan very often. Very large and lumbering, and I don't like anything that Comcast has a hand in. And what I can see them getting involved in is for their really for their content, for their on-demand services and stuff like that, having all that back library of The Simpsons and well, I don't want to bring politics too much into this, but we have to pay attention to also what the FCC is doing, because the FCC has been out to destroy net neutrality under a guy named Ajit Pai, who was a Verizon lawyer. And if that happens, if Comcast acquires Fox, they will be able to hold up a lot of internet providers for their streaming service rights, not streaming service, for streaming service speeds. What they'll be able to do is they'll pretty much be able to blackmail ISPs into saying, hey, you know what, we we're going to set up a internet fast lane. And then, if you don't do that, all your customers are going to be really ticked off at us.
Well, and as far as I can tell, Netflix actually has a little bit in this. They have a streaming deal with Verizon. So I don't know how deep their connection goes there, but I'm sure, as I said before, this probably has a lot to do with wanting to compete with AT&T and Time Warner if that merger especially goes through, which there's a whole bag of politics that go along with that. But anyway...
These deals with Comcast don't look good for anyone. I keep thinking to myself, I would rather see Fox wind up with Disney than anybody else.
Okay, well, that kind of brings us back around to what I was going to say earlier. With Sony in the game, of course, if Sony were to acquire 21st Century Fox, that would, of course, bring X-Men, Fantastic Four, and a lot of those kind of properties into the fold at Sony, which in turn would probably give a little bit more of a leeway for Sony as far as negotiations when it comes to Spider-Man, or B, room for Marvel to negotiate use of those characters. Like, for instance, not too long ago, a while back, they were trying to negotiate with Fox to use Galactus, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
This is where we get, again, to a point where we could see X-Men or Fantastic Four or something like that in Marvel, or we'll at least see them within the Spider-Man universe maybe down the road. If not, there's some ultimate possibility that I brought up on the Facebook group that was more of a joke. But let's look at this logistically. Let's just say if Sony were to turn around and buy 21st Century Fox, and then Disney were to turn around and buy Sony, which in turn would also buy 21st Century Fox. And have everything back in one fell swoop, like playing poker and getting a full house. You know what I mean? But Disney, of course, is not completely out of the game yet, according to reports from the Wall Street Journal. So you never know. There's still that possibility as well. But this is a very interesting turn of events, especially considering things that we've brought up in the past. Talked about on Midnight's Edge and on Film Buff and even before that. So this is a very strong possibility that within the next year, 21st Century Fox Productions, however you want to put it, will have a new owner. And there's going to be some changes in the game, for sure.
Yeah. I expect Bob Iger to sit down in a meeting with Rupert Murdoch and say, Bob Iger brings a big, huge, steel case in, those steel cases you see in the spy movies.
And Robert Murdoch brings a Vegemite sandwich.
Yeah, a Vegemite sandwich.
Actually, I think it's his son that handles all this now. But
yeah, and Bob Iger opens up this big steel case and it's got all this cash in it. And, Well, yeah, so I don't think anything's going to be announced until after Christmas.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because these take a long time to hammer out.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, speaking of Sony news, though.
Yes, there is some more that we meant to put in our last show, but it got so jam-packed, it got kind of shuffled and forgot about.
We all know Sony's working on a Venom movie. We all know they're working on a Silver and Black movie.
Yeah.
They're working on one more, apparently. Sony is developing a movie based on Michael Morbius, the living vampire. The Marvel Comics anti-hero. He first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 101, I believe it was. And actually they got some writers were working on it. Buck Sharpless and Matt Sazama. And if you don't recognize those names, they worked on Power Rangers and Dracula Untold. And
quality.
Here's the kick. Here's the feather in her cap. Gods of Egypt.
Oh shit.
Those guys submitted a script to Sony, and no word on whether they're taking an option on it. But I keep thinking to myself, really, you can't just let Marvel have the use of this character for a Blade movie or doing something in one of the Netflix series. I mean,
that would be a kick-ass Netflix series.
Yeah, Michael Morbius, yeah, or we may have him appear
and Blade,
yeah,
team up.
Yeah, Blade was actually Michael Morbius was supposed to be in Blade Trinity. There's that one shot of the guy on the roof with a bag over his head, and that was actually supposed to be originally Michael Morbius, according to David S. Goyer's script, but they changed it.
Probably had to, because I think Sony had just acquired the rights at that point.
Yeah,
then, probably.
I think you're correct. Yeah,
or it would have been just right around the same time Spider-Man came out. Yeah.
And this Michael Morbius movie is absolutely pointless. It really is. At least not without another hero to play off of.
I can see them doing it, but here's the kicker. I would think they would be better off not trying to tie this into the Venom Black Cat universe. Because vampires sell, in a way. You could do this. You have a basically Blade-esque type character, probably. Not in the sense of style, but you know what I mean as far as it's a vampire, but it's also an anti-hero kind of thing. And I could see them trying to sell this on its own, but then trying to tie this into that other universe, I don't know. I'm still not sold on Venom yet. You know, I'm curious as to how they're going to do Venom without Spider-Man.
Nobody is sold on Venom.
Except for Sony. So anyway, so yeah, you basically, you're not really looking forward to this either, it sounds like. I'm interested in seeing what they'll do, but like I said, tying it to that universe makes me very skeptical. I don't see the reason for this without just doing it for the sake of having their own little cinematic universe and forcing their own little cinematic universe, which is getting us off onto a little bit more of a different subject, but the same subject considering. But I mean, what's your feeling on that part, Rob? I mean, I kind of know that, but just mainly for our listeners. So. As far as Sony trying to do this,
absolutely pointless. Absolutely pointless. If you're gonna do Michael, you know what? Here's what I want to see: Michael Morbius in the next Spider-Man movie. That would make a good Spider-Man movie. Have Spider-Man and Michael Morbius. Peter's at Empire University, and Michael Morbius is a research doctor there, and he has a blood ailment, and he uses vampire bats, and then the story takes off from there, and it pretty much writes itself. And you know, you have this creature feeding on the blood of co-eds at night, and Spider-Man has got to stop him. I mean, like I said, it pretty much writes itself. So. That ideally would be the next Spider-Man movie, but instead we're getting this. Whoever thought this was a good idea? Tom Rothman, that's probably Amy Pascal or whatever.
Yeah.
Same cast of characters, the usual suspects as.
Pretty much. Which one's Kaiser Soze though?
Yeah.
Which one's Kaiser Soze?
Well, buckaroos, it's time to saddle up that horse and put some ointment on those saddle sores, and time to head on out for a roundup. Yeehaw! I'm a fan of The Incredibles. You're a fan of The Incredibles?
Absolutely. Actually,
we just saw The Incredibles teaser, didn't we?
Yeah, for as short as it was hilarious.
Well, any Incredibles is good Incredibles. It's kind of like pizza. There's no such thing as bad. Well, actually, I've had bad pizza, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So anyway, The Incredibles 2 cast Catherine Keener and Bob Odenkirk. If you recognize those names, Catherine Keener was in The 4-Year-Old Virgin, among other movies, and Bob Odenkirk is in Better Call Saul currently. This comes to us from Screen Rant. As Pixar prepares to suit up once again with The Incredibles 2, the already all-star cast has some new Hollywood company from Catherine Keener and Bob Odenkirk, starring voice talent like Craig T. Nelson, Holly Hunter, and Samuel L. Jackson. The Incredibles 2 is the long-awaited sequel to Brad Bird's 2004 movie. With the Parr family finally returning to the big screen, it looks like there will be a new batch of heroes and villains for them to share the screen with. According to Tracking Board, Keener and Odenkirk have been cast in as of yet unspecified roles in the Incredibles sequel. Could they be two of the 25 heroes set to join the party during Incredibles 2? Thankfully, with a trailer just around the corner, fans won't have to wait long until they find out with who the pair are playing. Given that Bird's original film will introduce fan favorite characters like Frozone and Edna Mode, two players who will also return to the sequel, it remains to be seen if Keener and Odenkirk can continue the franchise's theme of superb talent and memorable character work. I'm down.
Obviously, when the original Incredibles came out, Marvel films and all that kind of stuff weren't nearly even close to being under Disney's banner yet. Now these two are under the same house. The Mouse House.
No, House of Mouse.
Yeah. So, do you think there's a possibility we could see some really, really low-key or goofy Marvel characters pop up in cameos in this, do you think? Or do you think that's a little too far off? Especially considering it's a Pixar film.
2 words. Forbish Man. I know I keep bringing that up, but that's if there's going to be one Marvel character appearing in this movie, it would be Forbish Man. And for you people who still don't know who Forbish Man is, go look it up. So.
I don't think they will. I just was having fun there.
Yeah. I'm still waiting on that Forbish Man movie. So that would probably make a good Pixar movie. Terminator. For some reason, we have Terminator news.
It's kind of a big deal, but...
Anyway, Terminator 6 recruits Captain Phillips writer, and the new details are revealed. And this is once again from Screen Rant. With the film still due to be released in summer 2019, it's been just announced by Variety that a new writer has joined the team to polish the latest draft of the script. Personally chosen by Cameron and Miller, Billy Ray from Captain Phillips, not to be confused with Billy Ray Cyrus, but Billy Ray.
Well, don't tell Billy that. That'll break his achy breaky heart.
Certainly will, won't it? Billy Ray is now working on providing the final version of the screenplay, which is based on a story crafted by Cameron and Miller and Skydance founder David Ellison. Given Ray's past work, hopefully this will turn into a story that is worthy of continuing the cult appeal of the first two films and provide a worthy follow-up. Okay, so I still think that Terminator's run its course.
Okay, for those out there who probably, which is none of you that are listening, but that don't really know what's going on, there's a law where people who have created something, like the writer, especially if you're the sole creator, after so many years, you have the right to go back and reclaim certain rights from the studios under a law that came into play, I think, about 1977, 78, something like that. Regardless, Cameron's getting the rights back. He wants to do another one, obviously. I believe Arnie's on board. We've reported that Linda Hamilton's on board. This is supposed to retcon everything up until Judgment Day, so Terminator 1 and 2 happened, and now this is a new de facto Terminator 3 H2O Halloween style, which is ironic because they're doing another film that is going to retcon all the way up through, and we'll talk about that probably pretty soon anyway. But anyway, point being, yeah, so that's what's going on here.
I know we have a lot of Quentin Tarantino fans out there.
And I'm a huge one. I know you're not a very big Quentin fan, but I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan.
Well, anyway, Sony Pictures confirms Quentin Tarantino deal. Apparently the names Margot Robbie, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, and Leonardo DiCaprio are circling. And this comes from Deadline, updated with Sony confirmation. Sony Pictures chief Tom Rothman, oh, there's a name we always like hearing, just validated Deadline's morning scoop that the studio won worldwide rights on Quentin Tarantino's new film, the first of his long career to not be directed for either Miramax or the Weinstein Company. This email was just dispersed internally on the Culver City lot, and this comes directly from Tom Rothman. Tom Rothman writes, "Dear colleagues, I am pleased to report that late last night, Sony did indeed succeed in securing the worldwide rights in all media to Quentin Tarantino's next epic film. I was looking forward to sharing the news with you all myself this morning, but unfortunately the story leaked." Should I read this like I think Tom Rothman would read it? Wouldn't that be funny? "Bottom line, Quentin chose Sony over many other competitors. He did this because of all of you. He remembers well with the outstanding job the company did on Django and was particularly impressed last week by the presentation of our marketing and distribution capabilities, both domestically and internationally. I'm grateful to all who worked to make this happen and confident that we will do a great job for him on this film and others to come. It's a real credit to the studio and to each of you. Congrats, Tom Rothman." So, and when Tom Rothman wins, we all lose.
At least in this situation, as a fan, normally I'd be freaking out because it's Sony, but it's Quentin Tarantino, so they're not going to tell him to do or not to do anything.
Tom, do you have MoviePass? I thought you said you had a MoviePass.
I do, but I haven't used it yet because I keep going to 3D movies, and you can't use it for 3D movies. So.
Well, we have some good news and bad news. MoviePass is about to cut its monthly prices, but there's a catch.
Yeah, I heard about this.
MoviePass is lowering its monthly subscription price from $9.95 to $6.95, though with a slight stipulation that will apply to the charge. Ever since MoviePass unveiled its $9.95 a month plan for unlimited movie theater viewings, it became a major disruption in the industry. In fact, there was significant pushback, with AMC threatening to sue MoviePass on account of the massive price drop. In 2016, unlimited viewing costs reached up to $50 a month, compared with roughly an 80% decrease introduced in August of 2017. The only caveat with this new change, however, is that customers will need to commit to their subscription for a total of 12 months. The theater subscription service has been referred to as the Netflix for movie theaters, and it's simple to see why. That being said, this new drop in cost, which will only last for a limited time, doesn't seem to equate to a solid turn in profit for the company. However, according to MoviePass CEO Mitch Lowe, the current aim isn't to necessarily build revenue, but customers. Per Variety, he said, "We did a soft launch yesterday. We're discovering there's much more interest and demand than we ever imagined. We keep hearing from customers that they want an annual plan or they wanted some way to give MoviePass as a gift."
If anybody's wondering how MoviePass works and why it's all about customers, there's a reason for that. I don't know if you're aware of this, Rob. I didn't ask you this before the show.
I'm not aware, so let's find out.
They sell your information to other companies is what they do.
Your name goes on a list.
So you're paying them on top of them, yeah, and then you get it put on these lists, and they get paid from these companies, so that's how they cover the expenses to the theaters. Because when you go to the theater, you go on your phone and you press on the app. I haven't done it yet, but this is how I understand it works. And you press on the app what movie you want to go see, and it'll let you know if MoviePass is accepted for that, and if it is, it'll put that amount on your card. Now, there are ways to abuse this, but they are watchful about this, so they will catch on if you do things you're not supposed to over time. That's why I haven't gotten gutsy yet. So yeah, so then they put that amount on there, you go in and you watch the movie. Well, there's even supposedly penalties if you leave the movie early and all this other stuff, so I guess they have some kind of tracking stuff on your phone as well. So if you're going to leave a movie, turn your phone off for about an hour, I guess. I turn my phone off at the movie anyway, so honestly I don't see how it would make a difference. But regardless, point being, that's how they work, that's how they're making money, and that's why this is such a big deal to them. I'll give you guys a little bit more of a report as I actually use it, because I do plan on using it soon when I get the time. But yeah, that's how it works.
Don't you know they got your information, man? They're gonna use your information, man. It's the deep state. Don't you know that? Yeah, the deep state really cares if I go see freaking Ferdinand. Yeah.
And you're probably wondering how they can even do that. Well, I'm sure it's in the contract that you sign with them when you sign up. And if you don't want them to, then I guess you just don't want their service probably. I'm sure it's something you can't uncheck or anything like that. I'm sure it's a stipulation as part of the contract and the really fine writing in there somewheres.
We're both big music fans.
Yeah.
Very sad. Founding member of AC/DC, Malcolm Young, has left us at the age of 64. He died at his home. He had been suffering from dementia from a number of years, and sad to see him go. If for younger kids, you probably recognize AC/DC from the Iron Man movies. You probably recognize Shoot the Thrill from the Avengers and from probably the Fast and Furious movies, and Shook Me All Night Long.
Oh,
yeah. Thunderstruck. I mean, AC/DC's had a lot of success over the years.
A very multi-generational group, yes.
Yeah, one thing I wasn't the biggest fan of AC/DC, but one thing I could never escape, though. The songs just have a great bottom end to them.
They had their own style.
Oh,
That's what worked for them, and even though it evolved over time, and they even had managed to pull off the impossible when it comes to a band, and that is change lead singers in the midst of their height.
Oh yeah, they didn't have much choice. Yeah,
but not to take away from this situation, this is just heartbreaking. Yeah, this is Angus's brother, so this is real tough for not just the fans and the band just in general, but really tough for Angus because he lost a brother. So it's got to be real tough.
64 years old. 64 is not old anymore.
Not old, no.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look. I mean, there was a time where 64 was ancient, not anymore.
Well, and he's joining a very fast-growing group, it seems, of musicians that are dying at a very young age, at that 50 to 65 age range. That is just it's just too soon. It seems just way too soon.
Yeah. And apart from the drugs and the alcohol, though, I mean, being on the road is not an easy life.
I'm sure.
You're living out of suitcases. You're not eating right. You're dragging your body across multiple time zones.
Sleeping with God knows what.
God knows who. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Catching God knows what from who, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, there's days and weeks you don't see the sun, and like I said, it's just not a. People say, "Oh, geez, rock. You have such a hard life being in a band." I'm like, yeah, it's actually you're part of a traveling circus. Really, you think about it.
Oh yeah, it's the modern day circus for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't want to end on a down note. We have a number of birthdays to acknowledge today. On November 18th, Director Martin Scorsese turns 75 today.
Wow, 3/4 of a century old.
Yes, and actually, actor Danny DeVito, he turns 73 today.
Right behind him.
And producer Lorne Michaels turns 73.
Now, Lorne Michaels, if you don't recognize his name, you should, but he is one of the main men behind Saturday Night Live, and of course has produced many of their films and other TV shows and films, and was one of the inspirations behind Dr. Evil.
Yes, Dr. Evil. He also produced the series Kids in All.
Yes.
And actually, this is we have a Bond girl who celebrates her birthday. Actress Sophie Marceau turns 51, still looking as stunning as ever.
And there was another birthday you wanted to mention because you just wanted to say her name. Go ahead.
Yes, actress model Daisy Fuentes.
Because people got to look this up on their own now if they want to. Now you got to say it again because I interrupted you.
Daisy Fuentes turns 51 today, still looking very good too.
Very fine for 51, yes. What was her name again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Daisy Fuentes.
You're welcome. That's your payment for the week, especially since revenue's down.
And one more, actress Rachel McAdams turns 39.
Oh, I like her.
So we have a lot of birthdays. Happy birthday, everyone. We didn't want to end on a down note. We wanted to end on an up note, so to everyone we mentioned, happy birthday, and many, many more.
Well, sorry for the delay, but of course, as you've seen, my Justice League review's up. I'm hoping Rob's going to see it pretty soon, and of course, once that's up, we'll have a link to that, because I'm sure he'll post that on his main channel. And then also, we've got a new video right now on the main channel, speaking of. We also have another Trek log happening, so there you go. There's lots of stuff for you to watch this weekend, including this show, which you just got done with, so... there you go.
Trek logs.
Because it doesn't sound like too many people are going to Justice League.
No, I'm sure, and we'll have more to talk about that actually.
Oh yeah, we'll save that for Monday.
Yeah, but if you like hearing us talk about those things, then please consider supporting the show by subscribing. If you subscribe and you click that bell icon, you will receive updates on when all the latest content is uploaded, and you'll get those delivered directly to your phone. And if you really like the show, then please consider supporting the show through Patreon. Patreon supporters will get various benefits. You'll get early notifications for mini documentaries. You will get audio from the mini documentaries. You will get extended episodes. You will get lost episodes. You'll get outtakes. You'll get bloopers. And if you don't have the means to support us through Patreon, then please subscribe and share, because the more you share, the more word spreads and the more people get to watch, and the more we get to keep doing this, because we cannot do this without you.
And our revenue is like way down. Way down.
Yes, actually, we might be talking about that in a future episode as what we've tried to, what we've discovered, but yeah, way down. So anyway, like I said, share with your friends, share with your enemies, share with people you don't even
Tom might have to go start a GoFundMe down.
Oh man.
I wouldn't do that,
but anyway, that's our show for this week. We'll be back very soon with more news and discussion, and we'll be back on the regular channel for more roundtables. I'm sure we'll have another Star Trek Discovery roundtable coming very soon.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. So please join us again. I am Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo from Shabby Road Studios, and you are
Tom Connors. I don't even know where I'm at anymore.
From parts unknown, weight unknown.
I'm in an alternate parallel dimension. Now, if you've seen the Trek logs, you'll know what I'm joking about.
And yes, and like I said, we told you so. And we will see you next time.